Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are going to be taking a look at the link between self-esteem and peak performance.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah, we're going to be going through some work by Robert McDonald. He's an NLP expert.
hmm
And we'll also look at the stuff from Charles Faulkner, who researches peak performance.
Oh, cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. One of the things that stood out to me right away was this idea that willpower alone, isn't enough for real self-esteem,
hmm
which I found really interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Like, we always hear so much about just like pushing through it, you know?
Exactly. Just try harder, be more confident. It's like, well, how do you do that?
Right.
And then we'll even touch on the placebo effect, which I am always fascinated by, and how our brains can actually promote healing based on belief.
Yeah, that's wild. I'm really interested to dive into that.
Okay, so first off, how does Robert McDonald define self-esteem? I thought his definition was pretty insightful.
Yeah, well, he calls it an objective and favorable impression of myself, which influences all my experiences.
Okay, so it's not just like a feeling. It's like actually impacting how we see the world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and how we interact with the world around us. And, like, most people, they say they want high self-esteem,
Right.
but they don't really know how to get it. So
Yeah.
this is kind of moving past just simple positive thinking and into like actual tangible tools for change.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, but he also says that willpower alone can't build lasting self-esteem. But isn't that kind of like what we're always told?
Yeah.
Like, just try harder to be confident.
Yeah. It's exhausting. It doesn't last. It's like trying to force yourself to feel happy when everything is going wrong. It's not going to work.
Right.
He says that low or high self-esteem really comes from the mental map we have of ourselves, not necessarily reality.
Okay, so that's interesting. So it's not necessarily about what's true, but what we believe is true about ourselves.
Exactly. It's like imagine yourself as a tiny little flickering candle flame
Okay.
versus like a huge blazing bonfire. Which one is going to project more warmth and confidence?
Oh, that's such a good visual.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so where does NLP come in?
Well, NLP or Neuro-Linguistic Programming, it kind of gives us like tools to change that inner image.
Okay.
It's like, we think using our senses right.
Okay.
We're thinking in pictures and sounds and feelings.
Uh-huh.
And if we can change those, then we can change our self-esteem.
Wow. So he has this story in the book about this businesswoman who is struggling with self-acceptance, and she does this NLP exercise, and it's like she suddenly sees herself as separate from your behaviors.
Yeah.
And she didn't like some of her actions, but it didn't mean that she was like a bad person.
Right. It's that distinction, right?
Yeah.
We often tie our self-worth to our actions.
Uh-huh.
And NLP kind of helps us to see ourselves more objectively.
That makes a lot of sense. So one of the techniques that really jumped out at me was seeing yourself through the eyes of love. What is that all about?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It's about shifting perspective, right? So instead of listening to our inner critic, we're imagining someone who loves us unconditionally, looking at us, and we try to see ourselves through their eyes.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not about ignoring our flaws, but it's like changing how we view them.
Exactly. So there's like a 4-step process. First, you write your life story as you see it. Then you picture someone who loves you deeply, like truly loves you, and then observe yourself through their eyes. What do they see and admire about you? And finally, you step into their perspective and feel that love and appreciation.
Oh, that's powerful. I bet that really helps you focus on the positive qualities instead of dwelling on the negative.
Yeah, it's about recognizing your inherent worth, separate from any mistakes you might make.
I like that. Okay, and then another technique, this one's called the Swiss pattern. And he talks about this one as tackling blocks to self-esteem. So what makes this one unique?
Well, you know how some techniques, they only address past trauma or future anxieties?
Yeah.
This one is like a time machine.
Whoa.
You can actually rewrite the script of your self-esteem across your whole life, past, present, and future all at once.
Oh, that's fascinating. So it's not just about fixing what's broken, but building something new and strong for the future.
Exactly. And he gives an example of a woman who used it to resolve lifelong anger towards her father.
Oh, wow.
And, this anger was impacting her relationships and her career. It was holding her back in so many ways. But the Swiss pattern, it helped her untangle those deep-seated emotions.
Wow.
And create a more positive self-image.
That's a great illustration of how our past can impact our present and our future.
Yeah.
And how NLP can help us kind of break free from those patterns. Okay, so I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about Charles Faulkner's work on peak performance.
Hmm.
So he studied athletes recovering from injuries
Hmm.
and found they shared these like 6 elements of a positive mental attitude.
Oh, interesting.
So what are they?
Okay, so they are motivation, valuing full health, chunk size information, present moment time frame, involvement, and self-comparisons.
Okay, that's a lot to unpack,
Yeah.
but I'm seeing some really interesting stuff in there.
Yeah. And these aren't just for athletes either.
Right.
These are like building blocks for a resilient mindset in any area of life.
Okay, so I'm especially intrigued by chunk size information. What does that mean?
So it's about like avoiding overwhelm. You know,
Overwhelm.
when you're facing a big project, it can feel really paralyzing.
Yes.
But if you break it down into smaller, more manageable steps, each chunk feels more achievable, right? It keeps you motivated and moving forward.
Yeah, it's like, how do you eat an elephant?
Exactly.
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
So like an athlete might focus on improving one specific skill at a time rather than trying to master everything at once.
Exactly. And like someone tackling a creative project, like writing a novel, they might focus on one chapter at a time, or even just one scene at a time.
Okay.
It's about setting realistic goals and celebrating those small wins along the way.
Love it. Okay, so what about valuing full health? That one seems kind of specific to athletes.
True, but think of it as like valuing the optimal state of whatever you're pursuing.
Okay.
So for an athlete, yeah, it's physical health.
Right.
But for like an entrepreneur, it might be a thriving business.
Okay.
You know, the key is to like set high standards and be unwilling to settle for less.
So it's about having that like clear vision of what you want to achieve.
Yeah,
And committing to reaching your full potential.
exactly. It's about setting the bar high and constantly striving to improve.
Okay. So what about motivation? How is that different from willpower?
Well, willpower is often driven by force, like pushing yourself to do something you don't necessarily enjoy.
Yeah.
Motivation is about finding that internal drive, that passion that pulls you forward.
Okay.
It's about knowing what you want to achieve and understanding like the consequences of not achieving it.
Oh, that's a really good distinction. It's like dragging yourself to the gym versus being excited to go because you know it's good for you.
Exactly.
Okay. So how about present moment time frame? That's another one. What does that mean?
Well, it's about staying focused on the task at hand,
Right.
rather than getting lost in worries about the future or regrets about the past.
I can see how that would be really important for peak performance. It's so easy to get distracted by what ifs
Totally.
or dwell on past mistakes.
Yeah.
How do you even stay present?
Yeah, it takes practice. But there are techniques like mindfulness and meditation that can help. It's about training your mind to focus on the here and now,
Okay.
rather than letting it wander off to distractions.
So it's like those athletes who can just block out the roar of the crowd
Right.
and focus solely on their performance.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, what about involvement? How does that one tie in?
Well, this one highlights the importance of taking an active role in your own success.
Okay.
The more involved you are, the more control you feel,
Uh-huh.
and the more likely you are to persevere through challenges.
So it's about being like the driver, not the passenger.
Exactly. It's about making conscious choices and taking action towards your goals.
Yes.
Rather than passively waiting for things to happen.
Love that. Okay, and finally we have self-comparisons. So is this like about comparing yourself to others?
Actually, it's the opposite.
Oh.
It's about focusing on your own progress, not comparing yourself to others, because that's just a recipe for envy and discouragement.
Right.
Instead, you ask yourself, how far have I come?
Oh, I like that.
What have I achieved?
That's such a good point because it's so easy to get caught up in that comparison trap
Yeah.
and feeling inadequate.
Yeah.
But like focusing on our own journey and celebrating our wins, that's so important.
It's about recognizing your own unique strengths and talents
Yeah.
and using them to reach your full potential.
This is all making me think about people who like really embody these principles. Does Faulkner give any examples of this?
Oh, yeah, he does. One that stands out is Maury Magis. He was like a Chicago folk hero. He built this really successful business,
Wow.
lost it all, and then bounced back even stronger.
Oh, wow. He's like the embodiment of resilience.
He is.
What did he do to overcome those challenges?
Well, he refused to let setbacks define him. He used those 6 elements to rebuild his life. Even better than before. He tapped into his motivation, focused on the present moment, broke his goals down into those manageable chunks,
Yeah.
celebrated his progress along the way. He's a true inspiration.
Wow. So his story really shows that, like, a positive mental attitude, it's not just about thinking happy thoughts.
Right.
It's about, like, cultivating a mindset that fuels action
Yeah.
and allows you to overcome any obstacle.
Exactly.
I'm still, every time I hear about it, I'm just blown away by the placebo effect. The idea that our beliefs can actually trigger healing
Yeah.
in our bodies.
Crazy. Right.
If a sugar pill can do that 20% of the time, just because somebody believes it will, imagine what we can achieve when we actually consciously harness the power of our minds.
Right. It ties right back to peak performance. If our beliefs can impact our physical well-being,
Yeah.
just imagine how they shape our actions and our resilience and our ability to reach our goals.
It really makes you realize that our potential is so much greater than we think.
It is.
All right, so I want to talk about another fascinating concept, which is flow state.
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
So, that feeling of effortless action and heightened performance.
Being in the zone.
Yeah. Athletes call it being in the zone. Musicians call it being in the groove.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced that?
Oh, absolutely.
What's that like?
It's that feeling when you're so engrossed in an activity that, like, time seems to fly by and you're just operating at your absolute best.
Yeah.
And it's not limited to certain fields or skills. Anyone can experience it.
Right, so it's not just for athletes or musicians.
Artists, writers, even people totally immersed in their work.
Okay.
It's about finding that state of complete absorption and focus, no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, so it's about finding that state of being completely absorbed and focused no matter what you're doing.
Exactly. And it often arises from focused attention and a freedom from concern.
Okay.
It's about being fully present in the moment,
Uh-huh.
letting go of distractions or worries.
Okay, get ready for this. We're going to finish off this section of our deep dive with something truly awe-inspiring.
Oh.
The overview effect.
I like that.
So imagine seeing Earth from space, like a tiny little blue marble floating in this vastness of the cosmos.
Wow.
That is the overview effect.
Yeah.
Astronauts who have witnessed it firsthand, they say it profoundly shifted their perspective.
Wow.
We're going to try to tap into that feeling right now. So if you're listening, close your eyes for a second and imagine yourself rising above your current location. You see your house, your neighborhood, your city shrinking below. Keep ascending past countries, continents, until you see the entire Earth. Notice how small and fragile our planet seems against this backdrop of space.
Wow.
Feel that sense of awe and wonder, the interconnectedness of all life on Earth.
That's amazing.
It's a powerful reminder that we're all part of something much larger than ourselves. It helps us to see our problems from a new perspective and to appreciate the beauty and fragility of our world.
It really puts things into proportion.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. It makes you appreciate that bigger picture and let go of those petty concerns, the ones that might be weighing us down.
Exactly. So it makes you realize that we have so much more power over our experiences and our potential than we often give ourselves credit for. But we'll delve deeper into that in the next part of our deep dive.
Yeah. It really does. It makes you realize that, we're not just victims of circumstance or limiting beliefs.
Right.
Like, we actually have tools to kind of reshape our inner world and create the life we want.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've covered a ton of self-esteem, NLP, peak performance, even the overview effect.
The lot.
I know. So what are some of the key themes that stand out to you from all this?
Well, I think for me, it's that self-esteem isn't just something we're born with.
Oh.
It's not luck or genetics. It's something we can actually cultivate
Right.
with the right techniques.
Yeah.
And a willingness to kind of challenge those negative beliefs that we have.
So we're not stuck with whatever self-image we have right now.
Yeah.
Like, there's hope for people who struggle with low self-esteem.
Absolutely. NLP gives us those tools to actually reshape our self-perception
Right.
in a more empowering way.
Yeah.
It's like learning a new language, the language of our own minds.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
What else?
The power of a positive mental attitude.
Okay.
But not just that, like, think happy thoughts kind of thing.
Right.
It's like a mindset that actually fuels action, helps us overcome obstacles, and just, like, keeps us moving towards our goals.
So like those 6 elements that we talked about.
Yeah.
Motivation, valuing full health, chunk size information,
Right.
present moment time frame, involvement, and self-comparisons.
Yes.
Like those are, it's like a blueprint almost for mental resilience.
Yeah. Yeah. And a success mindset.
Yeah.
And they apply to any area of life.
Right.
Not just athletics.
Yeah.
Whether it's your career, your relationships, creative pursuits, anything.
It's so inspiring, like hearing about people like Maury Magis,
Yeah.
who lost everything and bounced back stronger.
Totally.
It's like he's a real-life superhero,
He is.
proving that these principles really work.
His story shows that, a positive mental attitude isn't about like denying challenges,
Right.
but actually like using them as fuel to grow
Yeah.
and become even more resilient.
Okay, I'm still blown away by the placebo effect.
I know, it's crazy.
The idea that our beliefs can literally trigger healing in our bodies.
Wow.
If a sugar pill can do that 20% of the time, just because someone believes it will, imagine what we could achieve if we, actually harness the power of our minds.
Seriously, it's a powerful reminder that we are far more capable than we think.
Yes.
Our potential is truly unlimited.
Okay, speaking of potential, flow state,
Mm-hmm.
that feeling of being in the zone seems like a key ingredient for unlocking it.
It is.
Have you ever experienced flow state?
Oh, yeah, many times.
What's it like?
For me, it often happens when I'm really deep into research.
Okay.
Like connecting these seemingly disparate ideas,
Uh-huh.
and then time just melts away.
Yeah.
I feel this incredible sense of clarity
Ooh,
and focus.
that sounds amazing. What advice would you give to someone who wants to experience flow state more often?
Well, I would say, find activities that really fully engage your attention, that allow you to kind of lose yourself in the moment. It could be anything, playing music, writing, solving a complex puzzle, even having a really deep conversation.
Right.
It's about finding that sweet spot where challenge and skill intersect.
Okay.
And you're just completely absorbed in the task at hand.
That makes sense. It's like finding that perfect balance between pushing yourself and being in your element.
Totally.
Okay, so let's revisit the overview effect.
Yeah.
It's not every day we get to experience the world from that perspective. So how do you think that kind of perspective shift can help us in our everyday lives?
Well, I think it's a powerful antidote to the stresses and anxieties of modern life.
Right.
Seeing Earth from space, it reminds us that our problems are often quite small in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
It fosters a sense of interconnectedness,
Uh-huh.
and it kind of encourages us to focus on what truly matters.
It's like taking a step back from the chaos and the noise of everyday life and just remembering that we're part of something so much bigger than ourselves.
Totally.
It's humbling, awe-inspiring,
Right.
and incredibly liberating all at the same time.
Exactly. It's a reminder that we have a choice.
Yeah.
We can get caught up in the drama of our own lives.
Right.
Or we can choose to see the bigger picture and focus on what really matters.
So what does all of this mean for our listeners?
Yeah.
What can they take away from this and apply to their own lives?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that we have more power over our experiences than we realize. We're not just products of our genes or our environment.
Right.
We have the ability to choose our thoughts, our beliefs, and ultimately our actions.
It's like we're not just passengers on this journey called life.
Right.
We are the drivers. We have the map, the tools, the power to create the kind of life that we want.
Absolutely. And it's a journey of continuous growth
Yeah.
and evolution. It's about embracing challenges, learning from our mistakes, and constantly striving to become the best versions of ourselves.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's about finding that joy in the process of self-discovery.
Yeah. And realizing that our potential is truly limitless.
I love that. It's so empowering to think about all the possibilities that open up
It is.
when we embrace this mindset.
Yeah, and that's what's so exciting about these fields.
Yeah.
NLP, peak performance, they give us concrete tools and techniques to make those possibilities a reality.
It empowers us to become the architects of our own lives.
Yeah.
To create a future that is filled with purpose and passion and, yes, peak performance. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's wrap up this part of our deep dive and take a moment to reflect on everything we've learned.
Sounds good.
We'll be back shortly to finish up with a powerful question
Okay.
and some final thoughts. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. So we've been exploring that connection between self-esteem and peak performance, kind of drawing insights from NLP and the work of Charles Faulkner.
Yeah, lots of good stuff.
I know, right? So just a quick recap. We've talked about these really powerful NLP techniques, like remember seeing yourself through the eyes of love and the Swiss pattern.
Oh, that's a good one.
And then those 6 elements, a positive mental attitude that, can really help anyone achieve peak performance.
Right. It's not just for athletes.
Exactly. And we've also delved into, remember those fascinating concepts?
Yeah.
The placebo effect, flow state.
Oh, I love flow state.
And we even took that virtual journey to space to experience the overview effect.
That was powerful.
I know, right? So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a question to kind of ponder.
Okay, I like it.
What one area of your life would you like to approach with more self-esteem and a peak performance mindset?
Good question.
Yeah, so could it be your career, where maybe you've been hesitant to, take on new challenges or go for that promotion?
Yeah, that's a good one. Or maybe it's relationships where you're holding back from expressing your true feelings.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe fear of rejection is kind of holding you back.
Or maybe it's your health,
Yeah.
where you've been struggling to make those positive changes.
Yeah.
Or maybe you don't believe you're capable of achieving your fitness goals.
So many possibilities.
Oh, no, right? So whatever it is, I encourage you to revisit some of the techniques and insights we've discussed and just see how you can apply them to that one area. Because remember, self-esteem, it's not a destination.
It's a journey.
It's a journey. But it's one that's worth taking.
Absolutely.
Because it really unlocks the door to like a more fulfilling life.
Yeah, more empowered.
Yeah, and an extraordinary life.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone.
Oh, yeah, that's so true.
There are so many resources and tools and communities out there
Yeah.
to support you on that journey.
So seek out those mentors, coaches, find groups that resonate with you. Read books, listen to podcasts,
Connect with people.
connect with others who are on a similar path, yes.
Absolutely.
And most importantly, believe in yourself and your ability to achieve great things.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and that you're feeling inspired to take your life to the next level. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.